If you work a desk job, there's a moment coming or already happening where office work stops functioning the way it always has. And it doesn't break loudly, it doesn't collapse overnight, it breaks quietly in a way that's hard to describe until you feel it. Suddenly work feels faster but heavier. Expectations rise, but support doesn't. Everyone looks productive, but nobody feels secure. That's the moment office work starts to break with AI. And in the next few minutes, I want to show you exactly what that moment looks like, why it's different from every tech shift before, and how to move yourself out of the part of the system that breaks first, without panicking, quitting, or trying to outrun a machine. Here's the thing nobody tells you up front. Office work doesn't break when AI arrives. It breaks when AI becomes invisible. When it stops being impressive, when it stops being talked about, when it's just there, baked into everything, quietly shaping how work happens. That's the danger point, because once AI fades into the background, the rules change, and most people keep playing by the old ones. At first, AI feels like relief. Emails are easier, reports are quicker, meetings feel less painful, work moves faster, and everyone thinks this is great, this makes my job better. But then something subtle starts happening. The time you save doesn't turn into breathing room, it turns into higher expectations. The work you finished early doesn't disappear, it gets replaced by more work. And slowly, the job stops feeling like a role and starts feeling like a throughput machine. That's where the break begins. Because office work was never designed to run at maximum speed all the time. It relied on friction, on delays, on human limits, on slack. Slack is what allowed people to learn, to recover, to be imperfect. AI removes the slack, and once slack is gone, everything tightens. Deadlines shorten, tolerance drops, mistakes feel bigger, and roles blur. And suddenly the same job feels harsher than it did a year ago, even though you're using better tools. This is the part people struggle to explain. They say things like work just feels different now, or it's more intense, or there's no margin anymore. That's not in your head, that's the system breaking under new rules. AI doesn't just speed up work, it compresses it. It pulls the future forward. Things that used to take days now takes hours. Things that used to take an hour now takes minutes, and when time compresses, decision making compresses with it. There's less room to think, less room to push back, less room to say, hang on, is this the right move? So office becomes reactive instead of deliberate, and reactive systems break much more easily. That's the moment AI stops being a tool and starts becoming pressure. You can see it when productivity is high but morale is low, when teams are lean but exhausted, when output looks great on dashboards but people feel disposable, and when nobody's officially in trouble but everyone feels replaceable. That's not efficiency, that's fragility. And here's the most important part. This breaking point doesn't target bad workers, it targets structural roles. The middle of office work, the people whose jobs exist to move information around, smooth processes, and translate chaos into something usable. Those roles used to be the glue. AI eats the glue. So when AI settles in, the structure starts to wobble. Not all at once, but enough that leadership starts asking new questions. Not who's working hard, but how many people do we actually need for this function? And once that question exists, office work is no longer stable, it's provisional. That's when things really change. Because from that moment on, you're not evaluated against effort, you're evaluated against necessity. And necessity is a brutal metric. Now here's where people make the wrong move. When they feel the system tightening, they try to go faster. They try to be more efficient, they try to prove their value by producing more. And short term that works, but long term it accelerates the break. Because the faster the system runs, the more leadership learns it can run with fewer people. That's the paradox of AI office work. The harder you push an output, the more you train the system to need less of you. This is why office work starts to break with AI, because the incentives flip. Speed becomes expected, volume becomes normal, and the only thing that really matters is where your absence would cause a problem. Not inconvenience, not annoyance, a real problem. Once AI smooths everything else out, the system reveals something uncomfortable. Which roles are essential and which ones were only essential because things used to be messy. And that's terrifying, because nobody tells you when you've crossed that line. You just feel it. You feel it when hiring freezes don't lift, when roles quietly merge, when promotions slow, when the team shrinks without layoffs. That's the break. So what do you actually do when you realize office work is changing shape? This is where the resolution matters, because panic is useless. The goal isn't to compete with AI. The goal isn't to outrun it. The goal is to move away from the parts of the system that break first. Office work breaks at the task layer. It holds together at the decision layer. AI is phenomenal at tasks. It's terrible at responsibility. So the safest place to be is not where work is fastest, but where consequences live, where judgment matters, where trade-off exists, where mistakes cost real money, reputation, or trust. That's the pivot. You stop defining yourself by what you produce and start defining yourself by what you prevent, decide, or enable. Instead of I write reports, it becomes I help leadership make better decisions. Instead of I manage workflows, it becomes I stop things from breaking. And instead of I handle requests, it becomes I reduce recurring problems. Those aren't job title changes, they're positioning changes. And here's the thing that's actually going to help you sleep at night. When office work starts to break with AI, the people who survive aren't the busiest. They're the ones the system still depends on when everything else is automated and smoothed out. If your absence would slow decisions, increase risk, or create uncertainty, you're safer than you think. If your absence would simply be absorbed by the workflow, that's the warning sign. So don't panic when things feel faster, don't assume speed equals safety, and don't wait for someone to tell you the rules have changed. They already have. Office work doesn't break all at once with AI. It bends, it tightens, then it quietly reshapes itself around fewer people. The ones who notice early don't run, they reposition. And that's the real difference between feeling trapped and staying in control while the system changes around you. If you want some clarity, comment down below your specific job role title and I'll let you know roughly how long you have got with AI until it takes over your job, and I'll give you some tips on how you can optimize to be able to last as long as possible. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe for everything AI and office worker related. I will see you all in the next one. Peace out.